Hello, I am Elizabeth. I am doing the Halberstam presentation on Chapter 7, and it is talking all about making the in-face presentation. This one is fun because the in-face presentation isn't something that you always get to do. So when you do, it is definitely a little bit more of a challenge, but you also have a chance to meet the people and really sell yourself. So I'm going to start by saying I've tried to get it so that my camera is smaller in the corner so you can see both me and the presentation, but there's sometimes where the camera covers up the words of the presentation, so I'm going to be moving the camera around just a little bit so that you guys can be reading all the words as I am presenting. So hopefully it all ends up working out, and I apologize for that inconvenience. All right, so the in-face presentation is something that I already said not everyone gets the in-face presentation, that chance to be able to go to the prospect and really sell them what they are trying to sell for the sponsorship. So the first thing you need to do is do your homework. You need to make sure that you know exactly what you're selling. You need to know who the prospect is. You need to be able to connect with them on that level, especially since you're meeting them in person. So you're going to need to confirm an appointment. If you get your appointment wrong, that's obviously going to be something that's embarrassing. You're going to need to let them know if you're bringing more than just you. And then you're also just going to need to know your presentation. You got to figure it out and figure out how to keep the prospect focused. And that leads me into my first question of what do you think is an appropriate amount of days to confirm your appointment? I'm assuming you guys will probably pause it at this point and discuss it. But I just wanted to say, for me, I would say definitely no more than 7 days. And I would say no less than 2 days. That way you kind of have a chance to get a hold of somebody, and if you needed to make changes, look at your schedule and make changes from there. Okay, so psychological preparation. For this, just to do your in-face presentation, you just need to be prepared. You need to picture yourself in front of the target on the morning of, and you need to just envision yourself there. So you got to envision the scene. You've got to see yourself giving the presentation to them before you actually do it. If you anticipate what's going to happen, then you are more likely to be able to face those challenging questions or times of nervousness. You also need to be sure to use fresh words, different words, keep the crowd engaged. You don't want to lose them. So be sure to know what repertoire you're going to use. Know different words, be able to explain things, and also be prepared to ask boring questions. Believe what you're selling if you believe what you're selling and you show off that you know what you're talking about and that you are a believer of what you're trying to sell the people, they are going to be more apt to buy into what you are selling. Next, you also need to rehearse and rehearse again, and then probably do it one more time. It's just something that you need to be ready to do. You need to be comfortable enough. You need to know what you're talking about, and you need to just be able to give the people an idea of what you're talking about without sounding confused or without making yourself look like you don't know what you're talking about. Don't be uptight, be natural, and then also get a good night's sleep. One quote that I enjoyed from the book was, "Everybody's got a plan until they get hit." That was written by Mike Tyson, and I thought that was pretty funny and interesting and very true. So it's just one of those things where you need to pay attention to what you're doing, you need to know what you're doing, and you need to be prepared. Some other things to keep in mind before you arrive is that you're going to need to dress the part. So as you can see here, I picked out some people who are all dressed up. They look like they'd be ready to present in a meeting or something. Address any issues you may be having. If you feel like you smell in the morning, go stop at the store and buy some deodorant or some mints, something like that. Be sure you're keeping good posture. The book said if you are slouching over and not showing good posture, people judge you on that, and it just doesn't look professional, and you don't look prepared if you do not have good posture. Another thing that was been brought up in a lot of the different chapters is to be on time. Be sure you're leaving extra time for traffic or any GPS malfunctions, because just when you think nothing can happen and nothing goes wrong, or your town doesn't have any traffic, something will more than likely happen and something may go wrong. So just be prepared, be early. You can always sit in the parking lot for 20 minutes and practice your speech one more time. Just definitely better early than late. And then also it mentioned if you're driving somewhere, make sure your car is clean, just in case you are taking your client out somewhere, or if they happen to have a car malfunction, you guys are riding together and it ends up that you have to drive. Just make sure it's clean. If they had to get in your car for any reason, they would judge you on a dirty one. Lastly, to keep in mind before you arrive is to perk up. Get yourself ready. Walk in with enthusiasm and get yourself all pumped up before you walk in the door. Know what you're selling, be confident, and sell it to them because you know what you're doing. So my question number 2 is, what are some ways you might perk yourself up? So when I try to perk myself up, I usually just give myself the confidence talk. You can do it. I already know what I'm talking about. It's not going to be that bad. It's only a 15-minute presentation, things like that. Anything that'll make you feel better about what you're trying to present, and get you into the zone of trying to sell. This is another quote from the book. It says, "Pictures tell stories. They break the ice." So this is what you would do when you're walking into the room. You're going to want to look at different pictures on the wall, credentials that they have. Just find something that's going to help break the ice. So before you do your presentation, you're going to be obviously having to make small talk. So if you're making small talk, you're going to want to probably talk about something that they would want to talk about, something that's going to engage with them, and something that's going to make you a memorable person. Also, another thing that he said was to discreetly look to find information about any competitors. Obviously, don't make it obvious, but if you find something, then that just gives you an upper edge on the other people because you know who they are. You can go home and do a little research about them. And just helps you out. When meeting the person, be sure to give a firm handshake. And then, like I said earlier, start small talk when people are getting seated. And then also if there is a defensive person in the room, or a challenger, just don't be defensive against them. Because that is not going to help you sell anything. And so that leads us to my third question, which is, the book stated that in a one-on-one, you will be able to tell the first couple of minutes by a quick assessment if the client is distracted, distanced, or tuning you out. In this case, it suggests you might want to say you're happy with rescheduling when they are less pressed. So my question is, do you think this would lessen your chances of getting the deal? I personally think it kind of depends on the situation. I would probably read the body language before or the work environment, before I fully decided on asking if they wanted to reschedule. Obviously, if it was a hectic day and you were trying to pitch your claim to a hospital or something and a major emergency came, that might be a perfect time. But if it just seemed like a person was just having kind of a bad day and didn't seem too into it, I don't know that I would necessarily ask them if they wanted to reschedule, because it would kind of be drawing attention to their bad mood. Okay, so making your presentation memorable is huge when it comes to your in-person presentation. 75% of what a person learns is visual, and then the audience forgets 40% of what they hear by the end of a presentation. 60% is forgotten by the end of the day, and 90% is forgotten by the end of the week. I would agree with this 100%. I don't always remember presentations, especially actually PowerPoint presentations like this. I'm more of an interactive learner. So it's just something that if you add videos to your presentation, if you add data, if you add graphics, anything that's going to catch the eye of the person and get their attention, that's all going to be very helpful. So next, you got to trust and watch what you say. Obviously, always speak with a smile. It's something that's inviting, something that people trust, and it's something that they like. Make a compliment if you can. If you like their shirt, tell them that you like your shirt. Just figure out something to make a connection again. And then also sound like a partner. Don't sound like you're trying to make a pitch. Sound like you're generally just talking to a friend, something that you're getting interested into. Don't try to be selling them anything. People don't want to be sold something. Another quote from the book is, prospects often won't buy sponsorship programs because of their fear of failures of new ventures. So that leads me into question 4, which is, what are some ways you might help convince a prospect that a new venture will not fail? For me, it would just be explaining it, giving them good information, doing a little research, figuring out, and just helping them crunch numbers almost before they even have to crunch numbers. Oops. Okay, so bumps in the road. So a lot of presentations have bumps in the road. They're just something that you can't let intimidate you. Don't let, if it's silent in the room, don't let the silence intimidate you. Maybe ask a question, maybe give them a little time to think, which was also stated in a previous chapter. And then also you need to re-engage a crowd if you're losing them. If you start to see that people are looking bored or something, ask for a show of hands in a question that you're going to ask. Prepare yourself for how to answer any objections or doubts that people might have. Know your core competencies. Try to address objection before you are prompted to. So if somebody had already previously in your presentation said, I don't know about this, maybe at the end of your presentation say, and I know that you were doubtful about this, but this is how we can, get past this. Have a few time presentations ready in case you end up getting pressed for time, and then don't push for an answer when a prospect is mulling over an idea. My last question is, what are some other bumps in the road that you may run into? All right, and so for the assessment, departure, and follow-up, you should briefly summarize the presentation before it is concluding. Don't get upset if the presentation doesn't work out. Figure out if there are others you may need to contact in order to help make the decision. And if you need to schedule another person, but it's not in another meeting, but it's not in person, try to schedule a video conference. And then this last one is just some useful expressions to end your presentation. I just found online and I thought were pretty good. Anyways, I believe that is the end of my presentation, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.